Well, things take a turn for the worse at the dig of a lifetime. Alright, things start taking a turn for the worse here in the dig of a lifetime. First day of digging, I went to their store and found some pretty cool stuff. But day 2 and day 3 is when I actually went to the garage where this 100,000 record collection was stored and had first pick of my section of this collection, and I was just totally killing it there. Now we're to day 4 though, and I get there and they got a whole different setup. Don't get first pick anymore. Let me just show you what I'm talking about.
There to that wood plank, and once you guys put them on that wood plank, then is going to count 95 and put in a box, and we're going to seal them up, and they're already sold. So that's how it's going to go.
So then is everybody going through every box, or?
I'm going to put some here, and he's going to pass it this way. I'm going to put some here, he's going to pass it that way.
Cool.
The method that she had for that day, there was like 8 of us, I think, all pretty much expert record collectors, but the method that they had laid out for us where they had these folding tables set up in a U shape outside the garage door. They would bring records out and they'd set a pile at one end of the U, and that first person there got to dig through those records and pick out what he wants, and then what he didn't want, he passed them on to the next guy, and that person would dig through, pick out what they want, the remnants of what this guy already picked. This guy already picked all the good stuff, so you're getting scraps for him. Then you pick out what you want, whatever's left, and you hand it on to the next guy, and man, by the time you get down to the end of that horseshoe, there is like absolutely nothing left. You're getting, really, the first guy gets all the good shit, so it was really sucking. But after a little bit, they did start changing that up to where instead of putting one stack at the beginning of the row, passing it on, they would bring it out, they would put a fresh stack in front of you, and that was your stack, and then you got to pass it on. So they were doing that in front of everybody. They would get a fresh stack of records. So everybody was getting some good stuff. So I did still get a bunch of cool stuff. But then the other major change that was really sucking, and I'd heard talk about this the previous day or day before or something. I heard that there was a guy from California who's going to be coming and buying something like 5,000 records or something. Well, it turns out he was here that day. And not only was he getting 5,000 records, he's digging through all the stuff first, picking out his 5,000 records, and then they would bring whatever, after he dug through the stuff, then they'd bring that stuff out to us and place it out on the tables. Also, if you noticed in that video, she said, we would all go through all those records or whatever, and then they get boxed up and sent away. Those were also sold. All of our scraps were sold, I believe it was a thrift stores who ended up getting all that stuff. But so what was happening now at this point was the garage was actually getting cleared out. We would completely empty shelves. I'll show you that too. Because, they needed to empty the garage out. So this was working good for them to get all the records out of the garage. But this guy from California, he's getting most of the good shit. But man, I don't know how well he really knew his shit though, because some good stuff slipped through. I think if it was more obscure, he didn't know it. And that's a lot of the shit that was more valuable, So luckily for us, a lot of good stuff still slipped through and came out to us. And we all were able to still get some cool records.
The Conjure Shop on 75th Street, just north of Pacific.
Hi, this is Justin. Sell your property fast. Don't buy houses cash. You own a house, you need to sell
Emptying out.
fair price.
Close to halfway.
0 to 600.
Probably halfway empty. But behind that wall, there's a whole nother garage bay about the size of this right here. We just dug through this all day today to clear it out this much.
It's all yours, man.
So there's another bay over there just filled with more records, they say.
You own a house that's trashed and $1,000 in repairs?
Glad you're documenting this, Matt.
Alright, I'm going to show you what I found on day 4 of the dig of a lifetime. Like I mentioned, it started out pretty shitty. I was just getting somebody else's scraps, you know, so it started out pretty slow, but then they changed up their method and started putting fresh stacks of records in front of each of the individuals, so started to actually get a bunch of really cool stuff again, even though, remember this, the guy from California was there and he was picking through all this stuff before us, and I still managed to get all this stuff. So like I said, dude from California, he must really not have known his shit, because I got lots of crazy stuff. But anyway, so I'm going to show you all the stuff I got from day 4. But first of all, I got all this other little miscellaneous stuff. Can't remember exactly which day I got them on. I'm just going to show you right now, get them out of the way here. I got some cassettes and some 45s and other things. Got this Bee Gees, A Remarkable Story of the Brothers Gibb book. You guys know I'm a huge Bee Gees fan. I got a crazy Bee Gees collection. I'm threatening someday I'll show you guys my Bee Gees collection. It's pretty crazy. I got a lot of Bee Gees records. And I got some of these old 6.5 inch 78 RPM picture discs from about 1948. Record Guild of America. Counted these 2. I already had these 2. I showed you these. Boy, remember when I missed all those killer garage 45s and stuff, and I went back 4 months later and they were still there? I got these ones from that haul. That's more of those Record Guild of America 1948 6.5 inch picture discs. But also what I got there that was really cool is these Red Raven movie records. Now these things are designed to go on, they're 78 RPM, I do believe. Yeah, they are. And they'll play on a regular record player. But these things have, I got a little footage I'll show you, this little mirror device that you set on the record when you're playing it. And you see all those images? It actually animates. You watch in the mirror and it makes an animated cartoon while your record is playing, and I found 2 of those there. They're looks like they're metal too, like this outer rim, that's metal. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
This is the tale of a little red engine chugging along the line.
You guys know I collect biker movie soundtracks. This is a 7-inch, 2 7-inch set, 1953, The Wild One, Marlon Brando. Very cool. This gatefold. I forgot to dig them out, but I told you maybe the last video or something. I showed some Ruth White. I got Ruth White Flowers of Evil record. She's a pioneer in electronic music. I'd found another record of hers some time ago at a thrift store, Short Circuit. But yeah, I found another Ruth White in the dig of a lifetime. This is a children's record, The Rhythms Hour, in this box. The booklet and stuff. It's kind of crazy because she's got Flowers of Evil, you know, some crazy kind of evil electronic music. And Bruce Hack did the same thing too. He had children's records. He also had the Electric Lucifer. He's another early electronics musician doing children's and evil records, kind of crazy. Got some cassettes there. Tigers of Pantang. The Cage, Riggs. I'm assuming this is the same band that did, I think, Heartbeat, and also Radar Rider from the heavy metal movie soundtrack. Loudness, Lightning Strikes, Halloween Live, and Paul Diano's Battle Zone, Children of Madness. I also collect 8-tracks. And I never had any of these before, so very excited to have these in my collection now. These aren't 8-tracks, these are actually 4-track cartridges. What is this one? James Brown, Grits and Soul, the instrumental sounds of the James Brown Band. Now I do not have a way to play these, but I think they're just a cool little item to have in my collection. Nancy Sinatra boots. It's cool how they're in those clear cases too, so you can kind of see the workings of it. And I got a huge Roger Miller collection too. Roger Miller, Madcap Sensation of Country Music. This is on some other label, General Recorded Tape, but I got it on vinyl, and that's a Starday record. and Enoch Light Discotheque. Alright, let's get into the vinyl. Got some 10 inches first. Joe Jackson, Look Sharp, 2x10 inch set. And this gatefold package is supposed to have a button in there, Look Sharp button. Thought I was gonna be smart, make my own. You know, I got a button making machine, right? Mine makes like the full size 1.25 inch. This takes 1 inch, so my button doesn't fit. So shit out of luck on that still. All right, and since I found that 10 inch, that two 10 inch set of Joe Jackson Look Sharp, that makes this crazy. I gotta show you this. It's not really too related with the Dig of a Lifetime, but I gotta show you this. Like, you know how you might have something on vinyl, cassette, and CD? Well, check this out. Look Sharp, 12 inch vinyl. Look Sharp, 10 inch vinyl. Look Sharp on CD. Look Sharp on 8-track, and Look Sharp on cassette. 5 formats of Joe Jackson Look Sharp. But wait, there's more. So that Look Sharp had the 10 inch set. I got I'm the Man 12 inch. Now here's where they differ. I'm the Man, this is a 7 inch box set. There's 5, 7 inches in here to get the whole album on there. I listened to that one time. Man, that was a pain in the ass. I'll probably never listen to that thing again. Cool to have though. Got it on CD, got it on 8-track, and I got it on cassette. So I got 5 different formats of I'm the Man also. Pretty crazy. All right, another 10 inch. 1955, Eddie Shue. I Only Have Eyes for Shue. Jazz on Bethlehem Records. He's a saxophonist. This is one of the very few sessions he did as the leader of a band, but he has played with all sorts of big names. Gene Krupa, Charlie Barnett, Chubby Jackson, Les Algart, Lionel Hampton, Buddy Rich, and others. This is the only U.S. press of his first record. I was super thrilled to find this. You guys know I collect Les Baxter records. It's a super hard one to find. The Passions box, one of his very early recordings, 1954, featuring Boss Shiva, Space Age. Boss Shiva's performance is startling even now, nearly 70 years later. She screams, wails, whimpers, howls, grunts, and even acts a little to the pulsating rhythms of Baxter's dark, gritty, and complex musical score. Very thrilled to find that. And another 10 inch. This is crazy here. 1954, Chet Baker Sings, Pacific Jazz 10 inch, first press, also released as a 2 7-inch set that year. All right, 12 inch vinyl. Started off with the bang. Nirvana. Not the Nirvana that you know. This is a 1968 Nirvana. All of Us, English psych band, formed in 1965. They actually came to an out-of-court settlement with Kurt Cobain in the 90s for $2,000 to allow use of the name. And on their album Orange and Blue, they covered Lithium as a tribute to the other Nirvana. This is a first U.S. press of their second album. I also found this first UK press. How killer is that? First US press, first UK press. But in addition to that, found their first album, also still in the shrink, by the way. Super minty, 1968. The Story of Simon Path, first US press of their first album. Very killer. 1969, The Nice, self-titled, first U.S. press of their third album. This is a band that Keith Emerson was in before he went on to Emerson, Lake and Palmer. 1968 UK press, The Nice, Ars Longo Vita Brevis, their second album. And 1968, The Thoughts of Emerlist Davjak, which is a combination of parts of their names. Keith Emerson, Lee Jackson, David Olist, and Ryan Davison. First U.S. press of that. Love me some Sam the Sham and the Pharaohs. It's a 1985 compilation, Pharaohization, the best of Sam Sham. Just killer garage stuff. You know, the main song is Wooly Bully, and also did Little Red Riding Hood. 1970, Liquid Smoke, self-titled, blues rock, psych, first press of their only album, still in the shrink. Like I said in the other videos too, man, this stuff is super minty too. Like this is still in the shrink. I mean, look at that label, by the way. Avco Embassy, never heard of that. I don't know if you can see that with this vinyl. It's just super minty. Most everything found in that garage, not all of it, but most of it, super minty. Generally speaking, if I found it and the cover was really nice, the vinyl was super minty also. I did find some, the covers weren't so nice, also the vinyl wasn't so nice. Here's another really nice one though, 1969, Lodestone, self-titled, psych, jazz rock. It has kind of been compared to, similar to early Chicago stuff with horns and such. 1966, Shadows of Night, Gloria, of course, garage rock. Their version of Gloria, originally done by them, Van Morrison. Their version reached number 10 on Billboard. 1965, mono pressing of Kinks Kingdom, first U.S. mono press. Also 1965, Kinks, Kinda Kinks, first U.S. stereo press of that. I also got this. This is a Canadian reissue of it from 1969, same album. This one, didn't do this on purpose. Ended up grabbing 3 copies of Kinks size. These first ones aren't in the greatest shape. They got some tape on them. They're a little scuffed up and stuff, but luckily the other one I got right here is 65 mono, super nice condition. So yeah, now after that I got almost all the early Kinks stuff. I already had this album, but I could not pass it up. Too killer of an album. I figured first of all it might be an upgrade, and second of all, let's throw it in someone else's direction or something. Count 5. It's the first mono press of this, Psychotic Reaction, their big hit. Just absolute garage classic there. The mono version, and also found this first stereo press of it also. Dude from California didn't grab the Cramps for some reason, so I got it. Cramps, 1985. This is a UK 12-inch single of Can Your Pussy Be the Dog with Blue Moon Baby and Georgia Lee Brown. Absolutely love the B-sides on this. Love this era of the Cramps too. They had a bass player at this time. This came out just before this album right here. Found this there also. It's a French copy of A Date with Elvis from 1986. This tour had Fur Dixon on bass. She's the first bassist to ever appear live with the Cramps. Cool, you can see that gold embossed on there. 1959, Netherlands pressing of Johnny Cash, Songs of Our Soil, mono pressing. How does the Netherlands Johnny Cash record make its way to Council Bluffs, Iowa? I don't know. And got this. Very happy to have this. This one's a bit rough too. Vinyl's rough. Seam split all the way around. Got tape on it and everything. So this is just a placeholder for me, but man, this record is so hard to find. This is an OG, first press, first album. Johnny Cash with his hot and blue guitar, 1957. So yeah, super thrilled to have this, but I'll be looking for a better copy, of course, at some time. On April 17th, 1960, Gene Vincent, Eddie Cochran, and his girlfriend, Sherry, and 2 others were driving in a car. Car went off the road, hit a lamppost. Gene Vincent sustained some injuries, including an injury to his leg, which left him with a limp for the rest of his life. But Eddie Cochran, he died in the hospital that day from head injuries that he received. This album was released right after that, and it's often referred to as the Eddie Cochran Memorial Album. Very killer rock and roll, rockabilly stuff. It's another one I already had, but I couldn't pass up this beautiful copy. Probably an upgrade for me. Captain Beyond, 1972. This is hard rock, psych, space rock, proto metal, featuring members of Deep Purple and Iron Butterfly, with the lenticular cover on it. Got this 1972 compilation, Papa Charlie Jackson, a Fat Mouth Records compilation of material from recordings from 1924 to 1929, blues and jazz banjo. He is the first self-accompanied blues musician to make records, one of the first musicians of the hokum genre, which uses comic, often sexually suggestive lyrics and lively, danceable rhythms. 1965, Ian and the Zodiacs, self-titled UK rock and roll and beat band. This is the first stereo press of their first album. 1967, The Innocents, self-titled, bubblegum, studio-only creation. It's the first press of the only album by them. Found this 1962, Sam Cooke, Twisting the Night Away. Of course, legendary R&B soul artist. One of the most important founders of soul music. How cool is that? Captain Beefheart. Captain Beefheart. This is a 1970 reissue of his 1967 album, Safe as Milk, his first album. It's avant-garde blues rock stuff. Super thrilled to find this. 1983 UK pressing of Sledgehammer's Still Sealed, Blood on Their Hands, new wave of British heavy metal. It's the first UK press of it. This has the song, their song Sledgehammer on it. Love that song. I haven't heard this whole album yet though, can't wait to hear it. But man, I've known that song since way back in the day. I had it on the Metal from Mothers compilation, so I've heard that song hundreds of times probably. 1968, The Electric Flag, blues rock, jazz rock, R&B, soul. It's the first press of it. Got Buddy Miles on drums. Of course, he jammed with Jimi Hendrix. Harvey Brooks on bass and guitar. He played with Bob Dylan, The Doors, Miles Davis. Hochul Wright on guitar. Played with Taj Mahal, Pointer Sisters, Mama Cass Elliot. Not too rare, not too valuable, but I was super thrilled to find this one. I've been wanting this album for a long time. Ever since I saw their Us Festival performance, 1983, I believe. All the Boys in Town. Oh my God, so killer. That's on this album. This is their first album, Divinal's Desperate, new wave band from Australia. This is an 83 press of their 1982 album. Later on, they handful of years later, they did that song, I Touch Myself, and When I Think About You, I Touch Myself. This album's way better than that, though. Some ska, 1964, Byron Lee and the Dragonaires played Jamaican ska. They appeared in the 1962 James Bond film Dr. No. This is only released in Jamaica in 1964 and never has been reissued. 1971, Furry Lewis, live at the Gaslight, Memphis Blues. Before the Great Depression, he recorded for Vocalion and RCA Victor, and then slipped into obscurity. This album was later in his career, though. This album was made at the Gaslight in New York, August 1971. Didn't realize I'd found 2 copies of this. I found one on day 2 or 3, I can't remember which. Apparently I got another one, though. Scratch Acid, 1986, Just Keep Eating. This is pre-Jesus Lizard. David Yow and David Sims went on to form Jesus Lizard. I also found 1987 Scratch Acid Berserker 12-inch EP. Very cool. Love Jesus Lizard. Seen them many times. Here's a jaw dropper. 1960 Muddy Waters at Newport. First press, mono, of his second album. Considered to be the founder of modern Chicago blues style. You can See how nice that is? It's beautiful condition. Let's break it out of there. Chess records. Super, super nice condition. Found lots of Nico. Probably most know Nico for this work that she did with Velvet Underground. It's a 1970 album of hers, Desert Shore. She's a German singer, songwriter, model, and actress. It's the first U.S. press. Arrangements on this done by John Cale. Avant-garde, experimental. And the shrink, you know what? Let's do it, because all it's got is that ugly ass price sticker on it. And the shrink, it's driving me crazy. I can't see this cover very well. I know it's beautiful under there. Let's get rid of that. Super nice condition on that. More Nico, 1974, the end, first press of that. 1982, Nico, Procession, UK 12-inch single. 1985, Nico, My Funny Valentine, 12-inch single, UK, still sealed. And 1985, Camera Obscura, first US press, promo. The Screaming Believers, 1985, Communist Mutants from Space. Alt Rock from Australia, still sealed. 1978, Striker, self-titled. Hard rock, metal, glam from Seattle, still sealed. 1986, Shallow Rain, self-titled. Alt rock, Psych. Patrick Shug on guitar from this. He played with the Holy Barbarians with Ian Astbury. Still sealed. ×2. Pretty crazy. Killer. 1984. Battle Axe. Power from the Universe. This is 100% pure metal. New wave of British heavy metal. Formed in 1981. It's the first US press. Still sealed. Glare is awful. 1985, SSD, Break It Up. Boston hardcore punk, straight edge. Their first two albums, Get It Away and The Kids Will Have Their Say, are now considered classics in the hardcore genre. But by the time 1984's How We Rock was released, SSD was clearly moving in a more hard rock and metal direction, which alienated their fans. This being a little more metal too. This is on Homestead Records, Dutch East Trading Company. That's pretty cool. How about that? The first Nuggets, 1976 Nuggets, original artifacts from the first psychedelic era. 1965 to 1968, 2 LP set. This is 76 press. It was first pressed in 1972. So much killer stuff on here. Strange Loves, Shadows of Night, The Seeds, The Barbarians. I'll just give you a look at the list there if you want to pause and look at that. Killer. How about this banger? Yeah, I still find killer stuff there. Even after Dude from California. 1982, Motorhead, Iron Fist, first US press of that. How about this? I want one of these for a long time. Kiss the Originals. This is a 3-record set. It contains their first 3 albums. Definitely the best era of Kiss too. My favorite Kiss album, by the way. Hotter Than Hell. Killer. This, by the way, is missing the sticker and the cards, but I'm still thrilled to have it. This is kind of interesting. I think the ones that I've seen online, they didn't even have a cover. This one has this. This record must be played by November 4th, 1980. I would have turned 13 the day before this. 1980, Big Fat Pet Clams from Outer Space. Gonna Get Fooled Again. New wave novelty stuff. Produced by Hilly Crystal from CBGB. And the label on this is Omfug. You know, CDGB Unplugged, pretty cool. I don't think the other versions I saw on Discogs had that either. Pretty cool promo thing. Alright, I already mentioned the huge Bee Gees fan, got a crazy Bee Gees collection. So when I found some Bee Gees stuff there, I had to snatch it up. 1979, Spirits Have Flown, picture disc. This has Tragedy and Too Much Heaven on it. This was pretty rough. Still had to get it though. In 1967, Bee Gees' first Korean pressing of it. As you can see, you know those Korean records, they come on that really cheap paper, and this thing is just falling apart. Still glad to have it though. I already had this, but I didn't have this version. Is 1976 Bee Gees Odessa promo. This doesn't have that cloth or velvety sort of cover on it, flock cover. It's a 76 reissue of a 1969 album. 1967, Roger Christian, Discover Yourself Through Astrology. Roger Christensen, also known as Hot Dog Raj, was a LA disc jockey that helped LA bands write songs about hot rods, including the Beach Boys, Jan and Dean, Ripcords, Dick Dale, etc. And I found one of these guys' records a long time ago when I found my Funkadelic Maggot Brain at that antique store in Seward, Nebraska. I also found a record by Time, T-I-M-E. Those are abbreviations, stands for Trust in Men Everywhere. This is their 1969 album, Smooth Ball, Psychedelic Blues Rock. That's the first press of their second album. So I now have both their albums. They only released 2 albums. This is one of my favorite finds from all this stuff I found there at the Dig of a Lifetime, 1970, T2. It'll all work out in Boomland. Hard rock, proto-metal, prog. It's the first U.S. press of their first album. Ex-members of Gun. You know, they're known for doing the song Race with the Devil. Still on the Shrink. Man, it's got that killer price sticker on it now. I'm probably going to leave it in the Shrink. That Shrink is bugging me though. All the Shrink from this stuff I found there, it's pretty dirty, so it all is driving me crazy. I'd love to take it out of there. This was pretty cool. Casper, 1980, Casper's Groovy Ghost Show. This is considered by many to be the first hip-hop song ever released anyway. This predates Sugar Hill Gang's Rapper's Delight by several months. 1985, Spoiled Brat, Hot to Trot, Private Press, Hard Rock Heavy Metal, Hair Stuff from Florida. 1970, Neon, self-titled, Psych. Couldn't find any info on these guys. It's kind of interesting. It's in like a reverse unipack. Normally they go with the pockets over here. This one, the pockets over on that side. Pretty weird. Some cool electronic stuff. You guys know anytime I find this old electronic stuff, I gotta pick it up. 1970, Response, electronic music from Norway with Nordheim, Alfred Jansen, and Bjorn Bongard, who is most known for came up with a quarter tone guitar. It's got all these extra frets on it where you can get all the quarter tones. Pretty crazy. 1968, Heavy Heads compilation with Muddy Waters, Howlin' Wolf, John Lee Hooker, Little Walter, Bo Diddley, Sonny Boy Williamson, Little Milton. Fake stereo, unfortunately, electronically altered for stereo, it says. How cool is that, though? 1987, Starkweather, Fully Async, I guess, C-I-N-Q. Post-punk from Connecticut. It's on, I don't know if you can see that, Vinyl Siding Records. That's kind of funny. I also have this insert inside there. There's some stuff you can order. 1968, The Tigers, Tony's Tigers, Little by Little, Garage Rock from Milwaukee, only press of this album also. 1978, Neil Norman, Not of This Earth, space rock, acid rock, prog, glam. First track on here is a theme for Star Wars. I could have done without that, but man, after that, I think this album really takes off. It's pretty killer. Some of the songs were co-written by Kim Fowley, arrangements by Les Baxter. Pretty cool. I got an album with that as the cover. Billy Preston, Goldfinger's Comp, Grammy Award-winning R&B artist who's collaborated with the Stones, Little Richard, Elton John, Clapton, Dylan, Johnny Cash. The list goes on, including he played with the Beatles. He played on the Beatles rooftop concert. Very cool. 2 LP set. Found another band, showed in the last video, another band called Phoenix. This is a different band. Self-titled, classic rock. Features Bob Henrit on drums from Argent and the Kinks. Jim Rodford from the Kinks, the Zombies, and Argent. So basically this is half of Argent on this album. Pretty cool. I've just been getting into Argent. Just discovered recently that I like Argent. So I've been trying to pick up their stuff. 1973, Capital City Rockets, self-titled, featuring Jamie Lyons, vocalist for The Music Explosion. He did the song Little Bit of Soul. You know that song. Bob Hill and Eric Moore went on to form The Gods. The Gods with a Z, that is. Those tough guys. That's the Little Bit of Soul singer right there. 1981, Cheetah, Rock and Roll Women from Australia, hard rock. This Australian pressing of it. Their sisters, Chrissy and Lindsay Hammond. 1980, Michael Schenker Group, heavy metal guitar god, of course, you know him from Scorpions. He played on the first Scorpions. He played on, came back to play on one later album. Most known for UFO, you know. Wrote the songs Lights Out, Rock Bottom, Doctor Doctor, Super Killer. Very cool. It's a 1967 Canadian press. John Cage, Henry Kosuer, Milton Babbitt. It's a new electronic music from the leaders of the avant-garde. This is very early avant-garde artists. Got some more John Cage and Luciano Berio with Ilhan Nimaroglu or something. I don't know how to pronounce it. More electronic, experimental, avant-garde music. Another one of my favorites I found here, 1970, Exuma, self-titled, funk, soul, psych, reggae, avant-garde from the Bahamas. It's as good as it looks, too. This is killer. Right label promo of his first album. Very cool. I also found 1972 Exuma Reincarnation. This also came with the poster. The poster is the same as this, so I'm not going to break it out of there, but very cool. Really digging that Exuma stuff. Exuma, I don't know how to pronounce it, but it doesn't matter. It still slays. 1968, Mad River, self-titled, acid rock, psych. First U.S. press of this. Killer album, and if you wanted to get this, I just looked on Discogs. You can actually get a recent reissue of this for very cheap on Discogs at the moment. 1969, Moloch, self-titled, acid rock, blues rock from Memphis, led by Lee Baker, who's been called the greatest guitarist you've never heard of. This is on Enterprise Records, which is a subsidiary of Stax. Lee Baker has played on some Big Star records and on some Alex Chilton records. He was senselessly murdered in September of 1996. This has the original version of the song Going Down, which was later covered by Eric Clapton, Deep Purple, Freddie King, Pearl Jam, and others. And that's pretty cool. The Spotniks, 1967. This is a Mexican press of the Spotniks in Acapulco. Surf instrumental rock from Sweden. They're known for wearing spacesuits too, and I can't help but think that they had to have been some sort of influence on Man or Astro Man. Man, killed it on Sparks. This Dig and Counts of Love, it's the dig of a lifetime. Got their 1984 Pulling Rabbits Out of a Hat, their 13th album. This has David Kendrick on drums. You know, he played in Devo. Other members that played on here came from the band Bates Motel, which they later changed the name to Gleaming Spires. They had a song, Sex Girls, that was on the Last American Virgin soundtrack. Love that old 80s movie. Oh, super thrilled to find this. 1966. First U.S. mono press of the Music Machine. Turn On the Music Machine. Garage Psych. I first learned of them. I first heard Talk Talk. Alice Cooper did that song on Flush the Fashion. DC3, 1986, The Good Hex. This is garage rock, hard rock. I need to listen to it. It should be, guessing it's going to be punky too. I don't know, because this has Des Cadena on it from Black Flag. Also has Paul Roessler on keyboards. He was in the Screamers, 45 Grave, Mike Watt and the Secondhand, and Nina Hagen. Very cool. 1972, Little Beaver, Joey. This is R&B, funk, soul. His real name is Willie George Hale. He's from Forest City, Arkansas. It's a first press of his first album. And this was pretty cool. 1983. Supergroups, radio show, live radio show. This one has Rick Ocasek and the Cars, and it's a 3-album set. Let's see, 3 sides is Rick Ocasek and the Cars, and then there's 3 sides of Berlin. That's what I'm most excited about. Live in 1983. Includes commercials on here too, including it's got commercials for Atari and for Clarion car stereos and other stuff. I'm super thrilled to find this one. If you guys watched my Halloween Records video I did around Halloween time, this made an appearance in there. A little spoiler alert, I broke this out and showed it in that video. 1965, Frankie Stein and his Ghouls, Monster Melodies, surf, garage, Halloween music. Totally one of the holy grails of Halloween records. Anything by Frankie Stein. I've now got 3 out of their 5 records, so I still need to find 2 more of them, and I'll have, here's their records right there. Find 2 more. I know I don't have that one. I can't see them well enough right now. I do have that one for sure. Anyway, I need to find a couple more, and I'll have their whole collection. 1974, Man, Slow Motion, Psychedelic, Classic Rock from Wales. 1986, Megadeth, Peace Sells, but Who's Buying? Record Club edition of this. Very cool. Was that their 2nd album, right? Yeah. Speaking of Big Star, is he on this one? Yeah, Lee Baker. Just talked about him from, what band was that? Lee Baker from Moloch, yeah. Just talked about him. He's on this Big Star album here, Big Star's 3rd, Sister Lovers. It's a 1985 repress of their 1978 album. Rolling Stone called them a quintessential American power pop band. Of course, has Alex Chilton in the band from the Box Tops. 3 of their albums are included on the Rolling Stones list of top 500 albums of all time. 1980, Trinity, Have a Little Faith, Dance Hall Reggae. Canadian press of that. Very cool. Don't find too many reggae records. Alright. 1985, Stryper, Soldiers Under Command, Christian heavy metal. It's their first album, still sealed. This goes out to my buddy, Alex Quick. He's probably watching this. I thought it was hilarious. They're a Christian heavy metal band. He messaged me. He was at their show. He messaged me from the show and said, "I'm the drunkest guy at the Striper acoustic show." Pretty funny being super hammered at a Striper acoustic performance. Cheers, Alex. Alright, 1985, Faithful Breath, German pressing of this. They're a German band, I do believe. Only pressed in Germany until like a recent reissue. They're formed in 1967. Pretty crazy. Their first album was in 1974. Like I said, this one's 1985. Thilo Herman from this band has played with Running Wild, Gravedigger, Holy Moses, and Risk. It's their 6th album, Still Sealed. Oh man, I found so much Still Sealed metal and punk and stuff. Speaking of punk, man, it doesn't get any more punk than this. 1980, Chipmunk Punk, Still Sealed. By the way, the trick is if you got the right turntable, and if you could play this record, if your turntable does 16 RPM, some turntables do. That's the proper way to listen to Chipmunks. Slows it down to this sludge doom, but then the vocals sound normal. Pretty crazy. It's a little pro tip for you. 1984, Black Lace, Unlaced, heavy metal from New York. This is a Belgian press and is only released in Belgium and Canada until recently anyway, recent reissue. Female fronted heavy metal. Still sealed copy of their first album. And I also found their second album, 1985, Get It While It's Hot. Now I have both their albums. I was super stoked to find this one too. 1981, Riding High soundtrack. This is Still Sealed too, by the way. There's all kinds of great bands on there. Police, Pretenders, Boomtown Rats, Squeeze, Madness, Lena Lovitch, Chic, Joe Jackson, including also Eddie Kidd, who's the star of the movie. Eddie Kidd is a motorcycle daredevil. He totally worshipped Evel Knievel. In fact, I'm not sure what his real name is, but he changed his name to Eddie Kidd because it has the same initials, EK, as Evel Knievel. Eddie Kidd does a song on here called, where is it at here? Called Heavy Metal. Very cool. Still Sealed. You know, I left all these Still Sealed records sealed until after I get this video made. Then I'll start cracking these things open and listening to them. Factory sealed for your protection, and it is still sealed. 1981, 999, Concrete, new wave punk from London, England. Still sealed for your protection. Once I crack the seal on this, though, man, I can't guarantee your safety after that. Sealed for your protection right now, though. 1984, Nightfire, self-titled, hard rock, Still Sealed. This is a private press. 4 brothers in this band. By Independent. Cool hype sticker. This is crazy to find this still sealed. 1968, The Tangerine Zoo. Self-titled, Psych from Massachusetts. First press of their first album. Oh my god. Crazy to find that one sealed. I don't think I can afford to open this one up. I might have to just sell that one. 1985, Black Sheep, Trouble in the Streets, heavy metal from LA. Not to be confused with this Black Sheep, which I also found in this same dig. 2 different bands. This one has Lou Gramm from Foreigner in it. This one is heavy metal, like I said. Kurt James, the guitarist from this band, has played with Steeler, Dr. Mastermind, and Wild Dogs. Mitch Perry on guitar. He's also played in the Lita Ford Band, Macaulay Schenker Group, Steeler, and Heaven. 1984, Maltese Falcon, Metal Rush. From Copenhagen, Denmark, where Merciful Fate and Lars Ulrich are from. This is still sealed also. It's a first U.S. press. Lars Ulrich is the one who gave them their name, Maltese Falcon. Sorry about the glare. 1984, Bad Seeds. J. Beck, Story 1. It's the name of this album, but J. Beck doesn't stand for Jeff Beck. J. Beck is a Texas record label. This is a compilation of some of their singles released in the 60s, a garage band from Texas. 1987, Sacred Denial, North of the Order, hardcore punk from New Jersey. It's the first press of it, still sealed. 1988, Napalm Beach, Liquid Love, alternative rock from Washington. Then they moved to Portland. 1985, The Cripples, What's in a Name, LA Punk Garage. This is the first and only press of their first EP. 1984, Steel Warriors, self-titled, private press record from New York, New York, 12-inch EP. They only released 2 EPs. This is heavy metal, hard rock music, still sealed. '86, Sponge, Born Under a Bad Sponge, garage punk from Chicago, still sealed. 1985, Snake Out, Golly Wobblers from Hell, Detroit, garage punk, also still sealed. 1983, The Speed Boys, Look What Love's Done to Me Now, rock, blues, R&B, new wave from Philadelphia. Looks like a private press also. 1986, Sudden Impact, No Rest from the Wicked, hardcore punk, thrash from Toronto, Canada. It's a Canadian press, still sealed. 1987, Sacred Child, self-titled heavy metal from LA. This is the only US vinyl press of this album. 1971, Concert for Bangladesh, of course, y'all know this, with George Harrison, Ravi Shankar, Bob Dylan, Ringo Starr, Liam Russell. Never owned a copy of that though, so totally had to snag it up. You know, I didn't mention in this video, but I got so many people asking me so many times though, what did I pay for all this stuff? It basically worked out to be about $3 a record. Basically what I do is I would bring up my box of all the records that I found, and she would just kind of thumb through them a little bit and then she'd tell me like, just give me $250 or whatever number she threw out. Just give me $250 for the box. And it worked out to be about $3 a record I was paying for all this stuff. Alright, that was the haul from day 4 of the Dig of a Lifetime. Still got days 5, 6, and 7 to show you guys. Still a couple hundred more records. So make sure you subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on. I'm going to try and do that maybe 2 videos, 1 or 2 videos, try and get the rest of these shown to you. And if you haven't seen the first 2 videos, make sure you go check out this video right there and you can see where it all begins. Thanks everyone for watching, and I will see you on the next one.